Hello, everyone. My name is Alejandro Ruiz, and I am a Mexican astrologer, and I am very thrilled to be your guide for this upcoming full moon in Gemini. You might recognize me from the September 2025 speaker series, where I taught a class on techniques of the soul through the lens of the medieval Islamic tradition. And this is a very special moment to explore how this moon is highlighting truths, uncovering hidden layers, and guiding us toward clarity. And together we'll dive into the influences of this lunation and see how this might be showing up in your life. As I mentioned before, this is a full moon in Gemini, and Gemini lunations tend to be fun, creative, flirty. However, this one has a trickier side to it, and we'll explore throughout the video why that is. So let's dive right into it. And the first topic I want to touch on is something that has always captivated my mind, and it has definitely changed my practice as an astrologer, and is to include both terms and decans, which you'll see the projection of the chart in my screen, and you'll see that here's the planets. But there's also like two subdivisions of the zodiac signs. These ones are called decans, which is basically like a division of three parts, and terms, which are divided into five. And what both decans and terms do, I like to call them the hidden architecture of astrology because they show us background, and they give us even more information of an event. And when we apply this into our birth charts, they also tell us a whole lot about like our lives and what the planets mean in our charts. So this is what I like to start with today. The moon is happening in the second decan of Gemini, which is ruled by Mars. This is a place where duality becomes unmistakable. And here it lies the sobering realization that we simply cannot do everything at once and be everywhere at once. And so which is, very Gemini. I think this decan is like the full Gemini expression, because Gemini is known to be a little bit messy, to be quite intelligent, quite clever, but also to want to do everything at once. And yeah, this decan speaks to the desire to merge many pieces that we've gathered, like ideas, identities, possibilities, and somehow like weave them into coherence. So this is basically like this is the decan of contradiction, of bending and blurring binaries, and trying to reconcile like all of those pieces together and make something out of this. So what this means for us is that this lunation basically invites us to adaptability, to stay open to change, to pivoting, to shifting your approach as new information comes in. And this is confirmed even more by the ruler of the moon, which is Mercury in Scorpio, right? And it is always very important to understand who the ruler of an event is. Like in this case, the lunation, but we can also apply this to eclipses because rulers basically manage how a lunation is doing and how that ruler provides resources. So it gives us a bigger picture of what's happening. And so as you might all remember, Mercury retrograded from November the 9th to November the 29th from Sagittarius to Scorpio. And by the time this moon happens, Mercury is still moving slowly as it clears the final haze of its retrograde phase. So this means that we are still recovering from this retrograde phase, and because Mercury at the moment is in Scorpio, it pushes us to excavate beneath the surface, and it cuts through illusions and it uncovers what's real, what's hidden, and what's been left unsaid. Especially because full moons, basically the moon is in opposition to the sun, right? So when this happens, like the full shape of the moon is revealed, we see its true colors and we see basically its full nature. And this represents revelations and things that were not clear that we needed more data or information on can sometimes come up and show up in like subtle ways, but in some instances in dramatic ways. So this moon basically is teaching us how to adapt, but also uh, how to deal with this with Mercury just ending its retrograde phase, right? And this was a very rough Mercury retrograde. I like to say it has teeth because of many factors, but I think the most important three ones were that it started in Sagittarius, which is Mercury's place of detriment, meaning Mercury doesn't do that well in Sagittarius. Um, it was also in conjunction with Mars, and that specific combination can show up in so many ways, but delays, lies, deceit, corruption, false news, and all that. And the ruler of Mercury at the time when he was in Sagittarius, it was Jupiter in Cancer. And Jupiter was also starting its retrograde phase. So, the planet is retrograde and the ruler is also retrograde. So this means like things will be rougher in a way. And Sagittarius and Cancer cannot see each other by a major aspect, meaning like oppositions or trines or sextiles. So that means they are in aversion. They cannot see each other. Therefore, Jupiter cannot bring enough resources or help to Mercury. So that's why this Mercury retrograde was like quite tough in so many ways, and it also was very unpredictable. And now that it's in Scorpio, which is a sign that, likes to go deep. This is a very important moment to realize, maybe things that were not real, that maybe like some gossip that was said, maybe we will uncover the truth throughout this full moon. And so, yeah, that's something very important to understand. And also, the next part and why this moon can be a little bit trickier is also because as the moon keeps moving forward, it will be in opposition to Mars, right? To Mars in Sagittarius. And this brings like tough situations. This can bring like tension to the surface because Mars inflames whatever it touches. So this could also bring sharp words or conflicts, fractures, both literal and metaphorical. So it is very important to be mindful of impulsive choices, rushed reactions, and situations that can escalate quickly. And under this influence, things can break, truths can distort, and tempers can flare. So, yeah, move slowly, think twice, and let clarity, not urgence, guide you. So yeah, this is like the most important aspects of the moon. And so we're gonna go now through each rising sign to see how this lunation might show up in your life. But first, I want to bring a very fun technique that it's traditional, but it can also give us even more insight of how a lunation or an eclipse can show up in our life. So the first thing that we're gonna do is to find out whether we were born by day or by night. That means whether our chart is diurnal or nocturnal, right? So it's very easy to know that if the sun is um, um, it's below if the sun is above the degree of the rising sign, it's in the 12th, 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th, and 7th house, that means we were born by day, right? So our chart is diurnal. However, if the sun is below the degree of the rising sign, meaning, it's below the degree, it's in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth house, it means we were born by night. Therefore, our chart is nocturnal. And so, that's the first step. When you find that out, let's say that we were born by day, right? So we will count from the sun, from the sun in our birth chart to where Gemini is. So let's say that we were born with a Sagittarius sun, so we will count to Gemini, meaning this will be like our first house. So from Sagittarius to Gemini, we will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's the seventh house derived from the sun. If you were born during the night, then you will do that, but from the moon to Gemini in zodiacal order. And so this derived house will also give us like a specific house, how the lunation might show up in our life, right? So let's say that for me, let's say that I'm a Sagittarius sun. Since from Sagittarius to Gemini, there's seven signs. That means like the seventh house topics like marriage, partnerships, relationships, open enemies, sexuality might be important for this lunation. And the second step is to then examine the dodecatemoria or 12 parts. Would the 12th part is also a subdivision of the zodiac, and you cannot see it here, but it happens in Scorpio. So we will also study Scorpio in our birth charts to get even more understanding or clarity on how this full moon is behaving for us. And so we get like a double testimony because the ruler of the moon is in Scorpio already, right? Which is Mercury. So take these two further considerations when studying the lunation in your own birth chart. So now we'll dive right into the rising signs. And I'm just gonna move this because I am a very visual person. So, okay, for Aries rising, this moon happens in your third house, right? So this means the moon will illuminate that house, bringing revelations involving siblings, neighbors, daily interactions, and routines. Situations that once felt minor or, background level might now speak louder, and truths come to light, especially around what's been said, implied, or whispered. And this lunation sharpens your awareness of communication issues, misunderstandings, gossip, or conversations that carry hidden weight. And there's also a strong tie to matters of belief, religion, or questions of truth because the moon is in opposite, it's moving towards the opposition to Mars in Sagittarius, which is in your ninth house. So you might find yourself confronting what you've taken for granted, or reassessing what you consider real or trustworthy. And since the dodecatemoria of the moon is in Scorpio and the ruler of the moon is in Scorpio, we will also study that particular area in your life. So it Mercury is in your eighth house, in your eighth whole sign house at this moment, and it brings themes connected to debt or fear and obligations, or something that you've avoided or postponed may resurface and may ask for clarity or even just like honest acknowledgement. And this isn't just about like panicking. It's also about facing what needs your attention so you can move even more freely. So stay grounded as you speak. Speak with intention and let the truth, however unexpected that be, clear the path ahead. And now we move into Taurus. So this moon is happening in your second house. Mars will be in your eighth house. So these two areas will be very important. And so, this full moon brings attention to money, possessions, and what you consume, both like physically and energetically. Because the second house, as it is, as it succeeds the first house, the second house represents things that support us, like money, like finances, but also what we consume, what we eat, what we read on social media, or all of those things. So basically, be on the lookout for that, and it might show big expenses or sudden payments, like may surface, especially because Mars is in the eighth house, and the eighth house has to do with debt. So this might push you to reconsider what's truly necessary, whether financially, but also what you consume, because we sometimes spend a lot of time on social media, like dumb scrolling, or stuff like that, and sometimes that can hinder even our mental health. So just consider what's necessary, and there might be something in your diet, your material life that may feel inflammatory, and it might signal that you need a detox to simplify or to release what weighs you down. And with Mercury ruling this moon, Mercury right now is in your seventh whole sign house, the house of partners, marriage, and relationships. So conversations become especially meaningful. Like how you communicate with others plays a direct role in in how you perceive yourself, but also how you make certain decisions. So misunderstandings, spoken truths, or deep discussions with others, yeah, will definitely influence how you choose to show yourself. And so this is a moment to listen closely, clear the air, and align your resources with what genuinely supports your well-being. And now for our Gemini risings. This moon happens in your first house, and Mars will be in your seventh whole sign house, and Mercury will be in the sixth. So yeah, this moon will bring focus squarely onto you, like your identity, your body, and the way you relate to others. And this is a moment of heightened self-awareness where you might see clearly how you show up in your relationships and what dynamics you've been carrying consciously or not. And with Mars opposing this full moon from your seventh house, there might be some kind of tension with your partner or a significant other. There might be arguments, impatience, or confrontations with someone who is close. And in some cases, this aspect can highlight an open enemy. And this is quite interesting because the seventh house not only rules over marriage or our closest friends, but also people who are basically our open enemies, who we know that might not have the best intention towards us. So in some cases, it can highlight like you're basically in might be a legal battle, or you're dealing with gossip or with someone who has been a pain for you lately. So be careful of that. And when it comes to Mercury, which is in your sixth house at the moment, it draws attention to matters of sacrifice and hard work, duties, and anything that requires sustained effort. It might also talk about employees or pets, because that's also like sixth house topics. And something in these areas might influence how you feel about yourself or how you navigate your relationships. So this is a time to recognize what's draining you and what needs adjustment and where you must advocate for yourself. Clarity begins with a steady mind and an honest self-reflection. So that's it for our Gemini risings. Now for our Cancer risings, this lunation happens in your 12th house, and Mars is in the 6th house, and Mercury is in the 5th whole sign house. So as this moon happens in your 12th house, this is prompting a mental release of something that has felt heavy for a long time. You may notice a strong need to withdraw, to rest, or simply step back from the noise. There might be also some kind of like fatigue or irritation or a sense of quiet frustration that can surface, but that can signal like something internal that needs just like space to unwind. And the 12th house, as it is one of the dark houses, it might also mean like time to rest in peace, to be in silence, to maybe like be in nature and just sit with yourself. And yeah, this is a moment where your basically inner world becomes louder than the external one. And yeah, with Mars in the sixth house, you might also be dealing with like frustration or something that feels heavy that might need time to let go of, or just to readjust to that specific situation in order to keep moving forward. And with Mercury in your fifth house, there will also be themes around pleasure, joy, creativity, hobbies, romance, or children that may weave into the story. And so this full moon invites you to pause, to breathe, and just like try to declutter your mind if you need that. And rest becomes a form of wisdom. So let the release happen gently. And now for our Leo risings, this full moon is happening in the 11th house in opposition to Mars, which is in the 5th house, and Mercury is in the 4th whole sign house. And so this full moon basically brings revelations involving friends, groups, communities, benefactors, and long-term aspirations. You may become sharply aware of the contrast between what you put out into the world and what these networks reflect back to you. Truths around belonging, support, and shared goals may surface with clarity. And with Mars opposing in your fifth house, there might also be themes around like children, hobbies, romance, and pleasure. Um, that can come with conflicts or frustration or sudden shifts in these areas that this might color how you engage with your social landscape or evaluate what genuinely brings you joy. And this opposition from the 11th to the fifth house can also talk about just like the fifth house it talks about something a little bit more personal, like our personal projects, for example. And the 11th house can, talk about what we do in groups or what we do collectively. And sometimes this opposition can look something like I want to I don't know, explore this project, or I want to put this out into the world, but how like am I ready for others to see it, because I might receive some criticism or unwanted opinions, or I might just be a little bit intimidated by what others may think. So yeah, this these kind of topics may arise in this full moon. And while Mercury is moving through your fourth whole sign house, it is drawing attention to home, family matters, and hidden or private concerns. Like something beneath the surface that when it comes to like your family or living situation or your foundations may influence how you're also choosing to show yourself. And this is a very powerful moment to reassess your alliances and aspirations, balancing what the world sees with what's unfolding behind closed doors. Mercury also in this area might indicate, moving to a different house or renovating a house, or dealing with family secrets and all that. So this is a particularly strong full moon for Leo risings. And now we move on to Virgo risings, and the moon is happening in the 10th house, while Mars is in the fourth whole sign house, and Mercury is in the third whole sign house. And so what this means is that this full moon brings like revelations on your profession, your public reputation, your career direction, and relationship with your bosses and authority figures. And also revelations about like basically the sometimes we tend to think that the 10th house is only about profession or like our bosses, but it is, since it is basically the house where the sun shines at its fullest. It also represents the kind of person that we want to become, the person that we're working towards becoming. And so that might also be an important topic for this full moon. And yeah, something about how you're seen or how you want to be seen that reaches a turning point. And with Mars in opposition in your fourth house, there might be like a tension between the public and the private. Themes around home, family, your living situation, or your deeply personal matters that may stir for some kind of frustration or conflict. And you might feel pulled between what the world demands and what your inner life requires, highlighting the divide between public duties and private realities, which is something that I've seen a lot when this kind of combination show up. And meanwhile, Mercury is moving through your third house, drawing attention to communication, messages, siblings, routines, short trips, and exchange of information. So there might be some kind of misunderstandings or delays, or how just significant conversations may color how you navigate in professional matters. So yeah, that's something very important to pay attention to. And this full moon basically invites you to balance between duty and home, between what's private and what's personal, what you want to share with the world and what you want to keep to yourself, and also like how you want to show up for the world. So allow your truth to guide your next step forward. And now we go to Libra risings, and this full moon happens in the ninth house, and Mars will be in opposition in the third house, and Mercury will be in the second whole sign house. So, this moon brings revelations around faith, belief systems, higher studies, long distance matters, or even legal themes. And yeah, questions of truth, meaning, and perspective become impossible to ignore. Something shifts in the way you understand the world, or in the way the world mirrors your convictions back to you. And with the Mars steering in the third house, tensions might arise through messages or gossip or miscommunications or around siblings, neighbors, or daily routines. And so be careful with sharp words, misinformation, and what you actually choose to believe what's real or what's false, or rushed decisions that can complicate the clarity that you're trying to reach. So pay attention to what's spoken, implied, or circulating in your immediate environment. And meanwhile, Mercury is moving through your second house. It highlights some like things around money, finances, spending habits, and what you consume materially or mentally. And yeah, there might be some kind of like financial conversations or unexpected expenses or stuff like that. So just be very mindful of that. And this full moon asks you to seek truth with discernment. Steady your mind amidst the noise and align your beliefs with the way you manage your resources. Um, so now for our Scorpio risings. Um, this moon happens in the eighth house, and Mars is in opposition in the second house, and while Mercury is in the first whole sign house. This is a very interesting moon because it brings revelations around compromises, shared resources, fears, debt, and the agreements like spoken or unspoken, that bind you to others. And so matters that you've avoided or kept in the background may emerge, asking for honesty and clarity. And yeah, this lunation may expose what feels heavy, what needs to be released, or where deeper emotional like attention is required. And so, with Mars in opposition to the Moon in the second house, there might be some issues around finances, payments, spendings, and what you consume that become more charged. So there might be a pressure to act quickly, but this is not the time for hasty decisions. So before taking any action, ask yourself if this is what you really want to do, and think of the consequences that your actions will bring in the future. And with Mercury moving through your first house, there's definitely like you're turning your attention towards identity and health, motivation, and the ways you choose to express yourself. You might feel like a little bit more introspective or more aware of your body, or more inclined to question what truly drives you. How you think and how you communicate now has a direct impact on the choices you make around like shared or personal resources. And yeah, this full moon is asking for discernment, grounded decisions, and an honest look at what supports you, your stability, and what undermines it. So be very mindful of that. And now we move on to Sagittarius risings. The full moon is happening in your seventh house, and Mars is in your first house. Um, so this is also when the moon, happens in the cardines, like the first, the 10th, the seventh, the fourth house. Those lunations tend to be a little bit more important in a person's like month or year. And so this moon lights up your seventh house, bringing revelations around partnerships, marriages, close relationships, and open adversaries, like open enemies. Truths that have been hidden or overlooked may surface, offering clarity, but also some kind of tension. And the spotlight is on how you relate to others and the agreements or dynamics that you've been navigating. And with Mars in your first house, it will bring tensions around how you interact with others, and that words might be a little bit sharper than intended, and impulsive reactions are more likely, and hasty decisions could escalate misunderstandings. So really, it's a time to slow down and think twice before speaking, and choose your actions carefully. Meanwhile, Mercury moves through your 12th house, drawing attention to hidden matters, secrets, and the need for rest and reflection. Quiet introspection, meditation, or simply giving yourself space to process can help you handle the emotion intensity of this period. So, for our Capricorn risings, this moon is happening in your sixth house, and Mars is moving through the 12th house, while Mercury is in the 11th whole sign house. So this moon falls in your sixth house, and this might invite to like consider uh to release what has felt heavy or burdensome. You might notice a strong need to rest, withdraw, or step back from constant demands of the daily life. And there might be some kind of fatigue, irritation, or frustration that can, signal that you need to slow down a little bit and take care of your well-being. And, with Mars activating your 12th house, feelings of, as I said before, frustration, the weight of sacrifices and responsibilities may also identify, because we're blending here like significations of the sixth and the 12th house. So there might be some also like hidden pressures that could emerge, and that could highlight areas where your efforts may feel thankless or overwhelming. And yeah, while Mercury moves through your 11th whole sign house, it also turns attention into your communities, friends, benefactors, and long-term aspirations. And there might be conversations and exchanges within these networks that may provide insight or support or bring new perspectives, but only if you take the time to listen and reflect. And so this full moon encourages to balance work with rest, manage frustration carefully, and release mental clutter so you can approach your responsibilities with clarity and renewed energy. And just to ask yourself what the weight that you're carrying is worth it, or if it's burdensome to you. And for now, our Aquarius risings, this full moon happens in your fifth house, and Mars is in your 11th whole sign house, while Mercury is in the 10th whole sign house. This might bring revelations around children, hobbies, pleasure, and creative expression. And there might be some insights about what truly brings joy, or where you've been overextending yourself. And These revelations will offer a chance to realign your pursuits with genuine fulfillment. However, since Mars is in the 11th house, it might bring tensions around groups, friends, communities, and benefactors. And just what I mentioned before with Leo risings, the opposition of the fifth and the 11th house might be it might look something like, I want to pursue this project that is deeply personal, that brings me a lot of joy, but the 11th house, that it is a very social house, might be like how I deal with criticism, or with the opinions of others, or just how I deal with me simply putting my work out there for other people to see. That might be a little bit scary. So yeah, there might be some kind of conflict or misunderstanding that could highlight the gap between what you put out into the world and what the support or resistance you receive in return. So be mindful of impulsive actions or sharp words that could escalate tensions in these areas. Meanwhile, Mercury moves through 10th house, drawing attention to reputation, career, work, authority figures, and the kind of person that you aspire to become. So there's definitely some kind of development in that area, and how that has an impact on your long-term goals and your public image. So this full moon encourages reflection on what brings you joy versus what demands effort, helping you navigate social and professional spheres with clarity and purpose. And lastly, for our Pisces rising, this full moon happens in your fourth house, and Mars is in the 10th house. So that means it brings revelations around home, family, and hidden matters. Secrets or underlying dynamics with your private life may surface, inviting clarity and reflection. You may also feel a strong pull to address what's been kept in the background or unresolved within your family or personal foundations. Um, this is also the example I used for Virgo risings, for example, was what is public versus what is hidden, or what you want to be kept secret. So there might be some kind of tension there. And with Mars influencing your 10th house, there might be some tensions around your profession, your work reputation, your bosses, or just simply the person that you aspire to become. There might be conflicts or challenges in your career that could reflect the inner pressures, the inner pressures, or urging you to find balance between like personal life and public responsibilities. And there might also be impulsive actions in professional matters that may complicate the situation. So caution is key. And Mercury moves through your ninth whole sign house, highlighting matters of law, religion, beliefs, higher education, and self-development. And this is a time for introspection and careful communication regarding your convictions, long-term goals, or studies, and also like thoughtful reflection and clarity of intention can guide you through complex decisions. So basically, this full moon encourages a careful balance between private life and honoring your roots while navigating ambitions and personal growth. So this is basically my analysis for this full moon in Gemini. I hope that you try those initial steps I gave you for to have even more clarity and have even more techniques to understand what a full moon, new moon, eclipse can bring in your life. So, yeah, that's all for now. I hope that you have an amazing full moon, even though it's a little bit trickier because of Mercury and Mars, but make the best out of it, and we'll see each other very soon.